The massive space station called Dominion's Edge floated in the dark void between star systems. Every 10 years, the strongest fighters from across the galaxy came here for one purpose. They came to prove who was the best. The station was huge, bigger than most moons. Its metal walls were thick enough to stop planet-killing weapons. Inside, the corridors buzzed with activity as aliens of every shape and size walked around. Some had claws that could cut through steel. Others had armor that grew from their own bodies. All of them were dangerous dot in the main hall. Representatives from dozens of warrior species gathered around a circular table. The air was thick with tension and the smell of different alien biochemistries. At the head of the table sat Kruthuk, the war chieftain of the Zirithi people. His body looked like it was made of living crystal, and each movement created small flashes of light. "The time has come again," Kruthuk's voice boomed through the chamber. His words came out as musical notes that hurt to hear. "We gather to rank the combat abilities of all known species. The weak will be marked as such. The strong will earn their place." Around the table, other legendary fighters nodded. There was Gorvuk, a Krillian berserker whose 4 arms could punch through starship hulls. His red skin was covered in scars from 1,000 battles. Next to him sat Zithara, a voidwalker whose pale blue skin seemed to glow with psychic energy. Her large black eyes could read minds and break them just as easily. The Thoraxians were there too, insect-like creatures whose razor-sharp mandibles clicked constantly. The Ironhide clan sent their champion, a being whose skin was literally made of metal plates. Each species had conquered star systems through pure strength and skill in battle. "Before we begin the formal assessments," Kruthuk continued, "we must address an unusual request. A newly discovered species wishes to participate in our ranking." The hall erupted in various sounds that could only be described as laughter. Gorthuk's deep roar mixed with the high-pitched chittering of the Thoraxians. Even the normally serious voidwalkers made soft humming sounds of amusement. "Who are these fools?" asked Ekmar, the Ironhide champion. His voice sounded like metal grinding against metal. "What species would be so stupid as to challenge us without knowing their place?" Kruthuk gestured toward the chamber's entrance. "They call themselves humans. They come from a small blue planet in the Sol system, recently contacted by our scouts." The laughter grew louder. The Sol system was known to everyone in the room, but only as a backwater area with nothing of interest. The idea that anything dangerous could come from such a place seemed impossible. Humans? Gorthuk stood up, his massive frame towering over the table. "I have seen the reports. They are small, weak. No natural armor, no claws, no psychic abilities. They barely qualify as a sentient species, let alone warriors." Zathara's voice was like wind through crystal caves. "Our psychic scans show they have no mental defenses worth noting. A single Voidwalker child could break their minds without effort. Then why do they dare to come here?" asked the Thoraxian delegate, its mandibles clicking rapidly. "Do they seek protection through alliance? Do they hope to buy safety with tribute?" Kruthuk raised one crystalline hand for silence. "They claim to be warriors. They request permission to demonstrate their combat capabilities alongside ours." The hall fell silent for a moment, then exploded with even louder laughter. The idea was so ridiculous that some species began making jokes in their own languages. The Krillians started a war chant that roughly translated to "crush the soft ones." The Thoraxians began a clicking rhythm that sounded like bones breaking. "This is entertainment." "Nothing more," Kruthuk said when the noise died down. "We will allow them to embarrass themselves. It will serve as a good warm-up before the real assessments begin." The great doors to the chamber opened with a deep grinding sound. Through them walked a small group of beings that looked nothing like the fearsome warriors already assembled. They were bipedal, standing on just 2 legs instead of the more stable 4 or 6 that most species preferred. Their skin was soft and pink or brown, with no visible armor or natural weapons. The human leader was a female with dark hair tied back in a simple pattern. She wore plain clothes that looked like they were made for movement rather than protection. Behind her walked 5 other humans, each looking equally unremarkable. "I am Commander Sarah Chun of the Terran Defense Force," the female said. Her voice was steady but quiet compared to the booming sounds the other species made. "We thank the Combat Federation for allowing us to participate." Krithik leaned forward, studying the small beings with obvious amusement. "You understand what this is, yes? This is a gathering of the galaxy's most dangerous fighters. Species that have built empires through conquest. Warriors who have never known defeat." "We understand," Chun replied simply. "And you still wish to be ranked among us?" "We do." Gorthik stood up again, his 4 arms flexing. Each of his hands was bigger than a human head. "Little creature, I could break all of you without even trying hard. Why do you come here to die?" Chun looked up at the massive berserker without any sign of fear. "We come here to learn, and perhaps to teach." This caused another round of laughter. The idea that these small, soft beings could teach anything to the galaxy's greatest warriors was beyond ridiculous. "Very well," Krithik said, settling back in his seat. "You may demonstrate your abilities. We will watch with great interest." Chun nodded to her team. "We will need access to your training facilities." "We brought our own equipment." "Equipment?" Zethara asked, her psychic senses probing the humans' minds for any hint of advanced weaponry. She found nothing threatening. "What weapons do you bring?" "No weapons," Chun said. "Just training tools." The alien warriors exchanged glances. A species with no natural advantages and no weapons? This would be over quickly. "Follow me," Krithik said, rising from his seat. "We will use the main combat arena. The entire Federation will witness your demonstration." As the group moved toward the training areas, conversations broke out in dozens of languages. The general mood was one of amused curiosity. Some of the younger warriors made bets on how quickly the humans would break. Others wondered if the humans would even try to fight or simply admit their mistake. None of them suspected that they were about to witness something that would change their understanding of what it meant to be a warrior forever. The main combat arena was a massive space that could hold 10,000 spectators. The floor was made of reinforced metal that could withstand the strongest attacks from any known species. Weapons racks lined the walls, filled with every type of combat gear imaginable. Word had spread quickly through the station about the human demonstration. Aliens from dozens of species packed the viewing areas. They came to watch what everyone expected would be a quick and embarrassing show. Commander Chun and her team stood in the center of the arena. Around them, they had arranged their equipment in neat rows. The alien warriors in the VIP section leaned forward to get a better look, then sat back in confusion. "What is this?" Gorthik asked, pointing one of his massive arms toward the human gear. "Where are your weapons? Your armor?" Instead of advanced technology, the humans have brought simple metal bars of different weights. There were thick ropes hanging from portable frames. Bags filled with sand hung from metal chains. Wooden poles lay arranged in careful patterns. Everything looked primitive and useless. "This is our training equipment," Chun said. Her voice carried clearly through the arena's sound system. Kairan's crystal body flashed with amusement. "You brought exercise tools to a warrior assessment? Do you plan to demonstrate how you keep your bodies healthy?" "In a way, yes," Chun replied. The alien audience began making their various sounds of laughter again. In the viewing boxes, betting was already starting on how long the humans would last in actual combat. Most bets were measured in seconds. "Very well," Krithik announced. "Show us your training methods." Chun nodded to her team. They spread out across the arena floor and assumed positions that looked strange to alien eyes. Then they began to move. At first, it looked like nothing special. The humans lowered themselves toward the ground, supporting their weight on their arms, then pushed back up. Down and up, over and over again. "Push-ups," Chun called out. "Basic strength conditioning." The alien warriors watched with growing confusion. The humans continued the simple movement for several minutes without stopping. Then they changed position, lying on their backs and lifting their upper bodies repeatedly. Sit-ups. Core strengthening. More minutes passed. The humans showed no signs of getting tired. In the viewing areas, some of the aliens began to shift uncomfortably. Most warrior species could perform great feats of strength, but only in short bursts. These humans seemed to be able to continue their simple movements indefinitely. "How long do they plan to do this?" asked Ekmar, the Ironhide champion. His metal skin clanked as he moved, as if answering his question. The humans stopped their floor exercises and began to run in place. Their feet struck the arena floor in perfect rhythm. Sweat began to appear on their skin, but they showed no signs of slowing down. "This is just basic conditioning," Chun announced to the crowd. "Every human child learns these exercises. We call this our warm-up. The alien warriors exchanged glances. Most species needed time to prepare their bodies for combat, but nothing like this. The humans had been exercising continuously for over an hour, and they were calling it warm-up? Zethara extended her psychic senses toward the humans. What she found made her gasp. Their minds were completely focused, but not in the way of species preparing for battle. Instead, they seemed to be analyzing their own bodies, noting every muscle, every breath, every heartbeat. They were studying themselves like scientists examining a complex machine. "Now we begin actual training," Chun announced. The humans moved to different pieces of equipment. Some began lifting the metal weights, moving them up and down in controlled patterns. Others attacked the hanging bags with their fists and feet. The sound of flesh hitting the sand-filled targets echoed through the arena. "Still no weapons," Gorthik observed. "They are hitting practice targets with their bare hands." But as the minutes passed, the sounds grew louder and more violent. The humans were hitting the bags harder and faster. The metal chains holding the targets began to shake. Sweat poured down their faces, but their strikes became more precise, not less. One human, a young male with short brown hair, stepped up to a particularly large bag. He began striking it with combinations of punches and kicks. Each impact sounded like a small explosion. The bag, which weighed several hundred pounds, began to swing wildly under the assault. "Impressive power," Ekmar admitted grudgingly. "But they are only hitting stationary targets. Combat requires." He was interrupted as two humans began sparring with each other. The young male who had been hitting the bag faced off against a slightly older female. They moved in a circle, hands raised in defensive positions. The first exchange happened so fast that some of the aliens missed it entirely. The male threw a quick punch toward the female's head. She deflected it and countered with a strike toward his ribs. He blocked and immediately followed with a kick that she barely avoided. "They are fighting each other," Zethara said, her voice filled with surprise. "Without weapons or protection." The sparring continued, growing more intense by the minute. The humans struck each other with force that would have seriously injured most alien species. When the male landed a solid hit to the female's shoulder, the alien audience expected her to stop and tend to her injury. Instead, she stepped back, rolled her shoulder to test it, and immediately attacked again with even more aggression. "Did you see that?" Kurthik asked. She was hurt, but she continued fighting. The female human, landed a strike to the male's face that would have broken the jaw of a Thoraxian. Blood appeared on his nose, but he simply wiped it away and kept fighting. "They are deliberately hurting each other," Gorthik said in amazement. "This is not training. This is actual combat." But Chun corrected him from across the arena. "This is light sparring. We are holding back significantly." "Holding back?" The alien warriors stared in shock as the human fighters continued to exchange blows that would have ended fights between most species. Their movements were fluid and controlled, but the power behind each strike was obvious. After several more minutes, Chun called for the sparring to stop. The two humans separated, breathing heavily but smiling at each other. They shook hands and began discussing what they had learned from the exchange. "This is impossible," whispered Zithara. They damaged each other, then analyzed the damage like it was valuable information. The humans moved on to other exercises. They climbed the hanging ropes using only their arms, lifted weights that strained their muscles to the breaking point, and performed movements that pushed their flexibility to painful limits. Throughout it all, they maintained the same analytical focus that Zethara had detected earlier. They were not just exercising. They were studying their own limitations and deliberately pushing past them. Hours passed. The alien audience, which had come expecting a brief moment of entertainment, found themselves watching in growing silence. These humans never seemed to get tired. More importantly, they seemed to welcome discomfort and even pain as necessary parts of their training. "How long have they been doing this?" asked the Thoraxian delegate. 4 hours and 17 minutes, Krithik replied. His crystal body was no longer flashing with amusement. "When will they stop?" Chun must have heard the question through the arena's sound system. She looked up toward the viewing boxes and called out, "We typically train for 8 to 12 hours per day. Today is a light session because we are demonstrating basics." "Light session?" The alien warriors stared at the humans, who were now performing exercises that looked like torture. They hung from bars by their fingertips, held positions that strained every muscle, and continued sparring with an intensity that had not decreased at all. And they were calling this light training. The betting in the viewing areas had stopped entirely. No one was laughing anymore. The galaxy's strongest fighters sat in stunned silence, watching a species they had dismissed as weak push themselves through training that would have broken most warrior races. "What kind of beings are these?" Gorthik asked quietly. The question hung in the air as the humans continued their relentless preparation for battles that might never come. The humans had been training for 6 hours without stopping. In the viewing areas, the alien warriors sat in complete silence. What had started as entertainment had become something else entirely. Something that made them uncomfortable in ways they could not explain. Zethara, the Voidwalker Scion, had been monitoring the humans' mental states throughout their demonstration. What she discovered challenged everything she thought she knew about warrior psychology. "This is not normal," she whispered to Kruthok. Her pale blue skin had grown even paler. "Their minds during combat. There is no rage, no battle fury. They are completely calm." Kruthok's crystal body flickered with confusion. "All warriors feel battle fury. It is what drives us to victory. How can they fight without it?" "They do not fight to win," Zethara said, her psychic abilities picking up thoughts that made no sense to her. "They fight to learn. Every blow they receive, every moment of pain, they treat it as information to be studied and remembered." Down in the arena, the human named Marcus was sparring with Commander Chun. He was younger and stronger, but she was more experienced. Their exchange looked like a deadly dance to the alien observers. Marcus threw a combination of punches that would have destroyed most opponents. Chun avoided 2 of them, but the third caught her in the ribs. The sound of the impact made several aliens wince. But instead of showing pain or anger, Chun stepped back and nodded approvingly. "Good power generation," she called out. "But you telegraphed the third punch. Try again and hide your setup better." Marcus smiled and immediately attacked again. This time, Chun was ready for his pattern and countered perfectly, landing a strike to his midsection that doubled him over. "Excellent," Marcus gasped, straightening up. "I see the tell now. Again?" They continued fighting, but it was unlike any combat the alien warriors had ever witnessed. Each fighter was actively teaching the other how to hurt them more effectively. They shared techniques for causing pain, for exploiting weaknesses, for finding gaps in defense. "They are helping each other become more dangerous," Gorthik said in amazement. "Why would warriors teach their opponents how to defeat them?" The answer came from an older human who had been working with the weight equipment. Master Sergeant Rodriguez was in his 50s, with gray hair and scars that told stories of countless battles. He had noticed the alien observers and approached the edge of the arena. "You want to understand what you are seeing?" He called up to them. "Come down here. Ask your questions directly." Kothak and several other leaders left their viewing box and descended to the arena floor. Up close, the humans looked even less impressive. They were sweaty, bruised, and breathing hard. But their eyes held something that the alien warriors recognized, even if they could not name it. "Explain to us your training philosophy," Krithik demanded. "We do not understand what we observe." Rodriguez wiped sweat from his face with a small towel. "Every other species in the galaxy fights to win. We understand that. But humans train to lose." "That makes no sense," Gorthik protested. "How can training to lose make you stronger?" "Because," Rodriguez said patiently, "if you never lose, you never learn. Every species we have met trains for victory. You practice your strengths until they are overwhelming. You develop tactics that use your natural advantages. You fight enemies who are weaker than you until you forget what real challenge feels like." The alien warriors exchanged glances. This was exactly how they trained. It had worked for thousands of years. "Humans do the opposite," Rodriguez continued. "We study every way we can be defeated. We put ourselves in disadvantageous positions on purpose. We train when we are tired, when we are hurt, when we are outnumbered and outgunned. We break our bodies so they heal stronger. We exhaust our minds so they grow sharper under pressure." Chun joined the conversation, still breathing hard from her sparring session. "Every human child learns to embrace failure. We compete against each other constantly in everything. Sports, academics, games, work. We make losing a learning experience instead of a shame." "But why?" asked Thekmar. His metal skin reflected the arena lights as he tried to understand. "Why choose to suffer when you could choose to win?" "Because suffering teaches you things that winning cannot," Chun replied. "When you are hurt, tired, scared, and desperate, you discover capabilities you never knew you had. When everything goes wrong, you learn to adapt and overcome." To demonstrate her point, Chun called out to Marcus. "Show them the disadvantage drill." Marcus nodded and picked up 2 of the metal training weights. He held one in each hand, making his movements slower and more awkward. Then he began sparring again, this time against 2 other humans at once. The fight was completely unfair. Marcus was weighted down and outnumbered. He should have been defeated quickly, but instead of giving up, he adapted his strategy. He used the weights as weapons when possible, turned his slower movement into more powerful strikes, and found ways to position himself so his opponents interfered with each other. He lost the fight, as expected. But in the process, he had landed several good hits and lasted much longer than should have been possible. "Good lesson," Chun called out as the fighters separated. "What did you learn?" "The weights actually helped with power generation in close range," Marcus replied, analyzing his performance. "And when I kept moving, they had trouble coordinating their attacks. Remember that for next time." The alien warriors watched this exchange with growing amazement. The human had just lost a fight, and everyone was treating it as a positive experience. He was happy to have lost because it taught him something useful. "This is madness," Esthera said, but her voice lacked conviction. No warrior culture could function this way. Rodriguez overheard her comment. "Really? Let me tell you about human history." He began describing human warfare in simple terms that the aliens could understand. He spoke of conflicts where millions of humans had died, but each war had made the survivors stronger and smarter. He explained how humans had fought not just each other, but their own planet. "Earth tried to kill us for millions of years," he said. "Ice ages, volcanoes, earthquakes, diseases, predators that were faster and stronger than us. We survived by becoming the most adaptable species on the planet. We learned to thrive in any environment, to eat anything, to make weapons from rocks and sticks." The alien warriors listened in growing silence as Rodriguez described a world that seemed designed to create the perfect warriors. Not through natural advantages, but through constant adversity that forced adaptation and growth. "Every human child grows up competing," Chan added. "In school, in sports, for jobs, for mates. We never stop testing ourselves against each other. And we celebrate the ones who lose with dignity more than the ones who win without effort." Garthik was staring at the female human who had continued fighting with a dislocated shoulder earlier. She was now doing pull-ups with her injured arm, gritting her teeth against obvious pain. "That one is damaged," he said. "Why does she continue?" "Because the injury teaches her how to fight while hurt," Rodriguez explained. "Most species avoid pain because it indicates damage. Humans study pain because it teaches us our limits. And once we know our limits, we learn to push past them." "This is not sustainable," Krethik protested. "Bodies break. Minds shatter. You cannot continue this forever. Can't we?" Chun asked. She gestured toward Rodriguez. "He has been training like this for 37 years. Every human in this arena has been doing it for at least 10 years. We do not break. We adapt." To prove her point, she called for the humans to demonstrate their recovery techniques. They showed the aliens how they treated injuries, how they managed pain, how they pushed through exhaustion. Every technique was designed not just to heal, but to come back stronger than before. "We call it progressive overload," Chan explained. "You stress the system just beyond its current capability. It adapts and grows stronger. Then you stress it again at the new level. Over time, you become capable of things that once seemed impossible." The alien warriors were beginning to understand something that frightened them. These humans were not just tough. They were a species that had weaponized adversity itself. They had turned suffering into a tool for becoming stronger. "Your people," Karthik said slowly, "they do not train for war. They train for the end of everything." Chun nodded. "Every human knows that someday, everything they love might be threatened. When that day comes, we will be ready. Because we have spent our entire lives preparing for the worst possible scenarios." In the viewing areas, word was spreading through the station. The galaxy's strongest fighters had come to watch a demonstration of human weakness. Instead, they were witnessing something that challenged their understanding of strength itself. The silence was no longer one of confusion. It was the silence of recognition. They were looking at warriors who had taken a completely different path to power, and that path led to places no other species had dared to go. The arena had fallen completely silent. Even the background hum of the station's life support systems seemed muted. The alien warriors sat transfixed as Commander Chun prepared to address them directly. She stood in the center of the training area, no longer the unremarkable creature they had dismissed hours earlier. Sweat, bruises, and blood marked her as a veteran of countless battles, even though most of those battles had been against herself and her own kind. You want to understand what you have seen today, Chun said, her voice carrying clearly through the arena's speakers. You want to know why humans train differently. The answer lies in our history. Karthik leaned forward in his crystalline seat. Around him, representatives from dozens of warrior species waited with growing unease. Something in the humans' tone suggested they were about to hear things they would not like. Most species develop civilization to escape conflict, Chun continued. You build technology to overcome your planet's challenges. You unite your people to end wars. You reach for the stars to leave your problems behind. She paused, looking up at the assembled aliens with eyes that seemed older than her years. Humans did the opposite. We use civilization to create better conflicts. We turned war itself into science. Chun activated a holographic display that showed images from human history. The aliens watched in growing horror as scenes of violence unfolded before them. Armies clashing with primitive weapons. Cities burning under siege. Machines of war that dwarfed anything in their own histories. This is from our first recorded war, Chun said, indicating images of ancient humans fighting with bronze weapons. 5,000 years ago. Notice that they are already using formations, strategy, and coordinated tactics. The images changed, showing more advanced conflicts. Humans fighting with iron weapons, then steel, then explosive devices. Each war was larger and more sophisticated than the last. By the time we invented gunpowder, we were fighting wars that involved millions of combatants, Chun continued. Entire continents became battlefields. We developed logistic systems just to feed armies that were larger than most species' entire populations. Gorthic's forearms trembled as he watched images of human warfare. These numbers cannot be accurate. You are showing us armies of millions? The Second World War involved over 100 million combatants, Chun said matter-of-factly. 75 million humans died in 6 years of fighting. Cities were destroyed completely. Entire populations were relocated or eliminated. The alien warriors stared at the numbers in disbelief. Most of their own species had never fought wars involving more than thousands of individuals. The scale of human conflict was beyond their comprehension. But this is madness, Zathar protested. Why did you not stop? Why did you not make peace? Chun's expression grew grim. Because we learned something that other species did not. War teaches lessons that peace cannot. Every conflict made us stronger, smarter, and more adaptable. We did not fight to destroy each other. We fought to improve. The holographic display showed human technological advancement accelerated by warfare. Medical techniques developed to treat battle injuries. Communication systems designed for military coordination. Transportation methods created to move armies and supplies. Our greatest scientific achievements came from military necessity, Chun explained. We learned to fly because we wanted to bomb our enemies from above. We developed computers to calculate artillery trajectories. We split the atom to build better weapons. You developed technology to kill each other more efficiently. Asked Etmar, his metal skin reflecting the horror in his voice. We developed technology to solve problems under pressure, Chun corrected. The killing was just one application. Every challenge forced us to innovate or die. Every enemy made us stronger. The images changed again, showing human training methods through the centuries. Gladiators fighting to the death for entertainment. Samurai practicing sword techniques until their hands bled. Soldiers running obstacle courses designed to simulate battlefield conditions. We made preparation for war into an art form, Chun said. Every culture, every generation found new ways to push human capabilities further. We studied our enemies and learned from their techniques. We analyzed our failures and corrected them. Master Sergeant Rodriguez joined Chun at the display. His weathered face told stories that the aliens were beginning to understand. "Show them the full context," he suggested. Chan nodded and changed the display to show Earth itself. The aliens saw a planet that looked beautiful but dangerous. Massive storms that could destroy cities. Earthquakes that reshaped continents. Ice ages that lasted for millennia. "Our planet tried to kill us," Rodriguez said. "For millions of years, Earth was our enemy. We learned to survive in every environment it could create. Frozen wastelands, burning deserts, underwater, underground, on mountaintops, in swamps full of disease." The display showed early humans hunting animals that were larger, faster, and stronger than them. Humans surviving in conditions that would kill most alien species. Humans adapting to changes that had driven other species extinct. "We were not the strongest species on our planet," Chan continued. "We were not the fastest or the most dangerous. But we were the most persistent. We never gave up. We never stopped learning. We never stopped improving." The alien warriors watched in fascination as the display showed human expansion across their planet. From Africa to every continent. Into environments that should have been uninhabitable. Always adapting, always growing stronger. "When we finally developed space travel," Rodriguez said, "we did not leave our problems behind. We brought them with us. We continued competing, continued fighting, continued pushing ourselves to be better." Chan gestured toward her training team, who were still exercising in the background. "Every human you see here is the product of millions of years of conflict. We are descended from the ones who survived when others did not. The ones who adapted when others could not. The ones who kept fighting when others gave up." The holographic display showed human colonies spreading across their solar system. Settlements on hostile worlds where the environment itself was an enemy. Humans thriving in places that would challenge the most advanced alien technologies. "We do not train for specific enemies," Chun said. "We train for unknown enemies. For impossible odds. For scenarios where everything goes wrong and help is not coming." She activated a new section of the display showing human military doctrine. The aliens watched in growing amazement as they saw training programs designed to prepare for every conceivable type of warfare. "We train soldiers to fight in space, underwater, underground, in toxic atmospheres, in crushing gravity, in zero gravity, in temperatures that would freeze or boil most species," Rodriguez explained. "We prepare for enemies we have never seen using weapons we hope they do not have." "This is paranoia," Kritik said, but his voice lacked conviction. "This is reality," Chung replied. "The universe is a dangerous place. Species rise and fall. Civilizations collapse. Wars come whether you prepare for them or not. We chose to be ready." The display showed the final piece of human history. Their recent contact with galactic civilization. Humans studying alien species, learning their strengths and weaknesses, adapting their training to face new types of opponents. "In 6 months of contact with your Federation," Chun said, "we have identified 47 different ways alien species might attack us. We have developed countermeasures for each one, not because we plan to fight you, but because preparation is what we do." The alien warriors sat in stunned silence as the implications sank in. These humans had spent their entire evolutionary history preparing for war against unknown enemies. They were a species that had weaponized paranoia and turned survival instinct into an art form. "Your people," Zethara said slowly, "are they ever at peace?" Chum smiled for the first time since her presentation began. "We are at peace when we are prepared for war. Our training is our peace. Our readiness is our security. We sleep well at night because we know that tomorrow, no matter what happens, we will be ready for it." She gestured toward the ongoing training session. "Every exercise you see here represents thousands of years of human experience. Every technique has been tested in real combat. Every drill prepares for real scenarios that our ancestors faced and our descendants might face again. The silence in the arena stretched on as the galaxy's greatest warriors tried to process what they had learned. They had come to assess a new species' fighting capabilities. Instead, they had discovered a species that had turned fighting capability into the core of their existence. "What do you want from us?" Kruthic asked finally. "Nothing," Chun replied. "We came here to be assessed. You have seen our methods. Judge us as you see fit." But even as she spoke, they all knew that the assessment had already been made. The question was no longer whether humans belonged among the galaxy's warriors. The question was whether any other species could claim to be warriors in the same sense that humans were. The demonstration was nearly over, but its impact was just beginning. The formal combat assessments were supposed to begin the next day. Instead, Kruthic made an announcement that shocked the entire station. "The ranking ceremonies are postponed indefinitely." His crystal voice rang through the communication system. "All Federation representatives are invited to observe extended human training demonstrations." In the arena, Commander Chun was leading her team through what she called Hell Week simulation. They had been training continuously for 3 days with minimal food, almost no sleep, and constant physical challenges. The alien observers watched in silent amazement as the humans pushed through conditions that would have broken most warrior species on the first day. Marcus stumbled as he ran through an obstacle course for the 100th time. His legs shook with exhaustion, sweat poured down his face, and his breathing was ragged. But when he fell, he immediately got up and continued. No one had ordered him to continue. No one was threatening him with punishment. He simply refused to quit. "Day 3 of the simulation," Chun announced to the watching aliens. In actual Hell Week, this would continue for 4 more days. Human Special Forces candidates are expected to complete this while learning complex tactical procedures and making life-or-death decisions. Gorthic descended to the arena floor. His massive frame towered over Chun, but for the first time since arriving at the station, he seemed uncertain. "Human," he said, his voice much quieter than usual, "I must ask you something. My people pride themselves on battle fury. When we fight, rage fills us and makes us stronger than we thought possible. But your warriors show no rage at all. How do you fight without anger?" Chun wiped sweat from her eyes before answering. "Anger is useful for short bursts of effort, but it clouds judgment. We train to fight with clear minds because battles can last for hours, days, or even years. Rage burns out quickly. Discipline lasts forever." To demonstrate her point, she called Marcus over despite his obvious exhaustion. "Show him the meditation drill." Marcus sat cross-legged on the arena floor and closed his eyes. Within seconds, his breathing became regular and his shaking stopped. He sat perfectly still while chaos continued around him. Other humans ran past him, equipment crashed to the ground nearby, and instructors shouted commands. Marcus remained completely calm in the center of it all. "Human warriors learn to find peace in the middle of violence," Chun explained. "The louder and more chaotic the situation becomes, the quieter their minds get. This is how we think clearly when others cannot." Zethara approached cautiously. Her psychic abilities were telling her impossible things about the humans sitting in meditation. "His mind is completely silent," she whispered, "but he is still aware of everything around him." "How is this possible?" "Practice," Chun said simply. "Humans have been developing mental training techniques for thousands of years. We learn to control not just our bodies, but our thoughts and emotions as well." Other alien warriors began gathering around the meditation demonstration. They watched in fascination as Marcus remained perfectly still despite the intense activity around him. After several minutes, Chun called his name softly. His eyes opened immediately, and he stood up, fully alert and ready to continue training. Your people, Krithik said slowly. They train their minds as intensively as their bodies? The mind and body are not separate things, Rodriguez said, joining the conversation. Physical training makes the mind stronger. Mental training makes the body more capable. Everything is connected. He gestured toward a human female who was performing complex mathematical calculations while running on a treadmill. She is learning to think clearly while under physical stress. In combat, you cannot always fight from a comfortable position. You might be wounded, tired, or in pain. The brain must still work perfectly. Dekmar watched the mathematical exercise with his metal head tilted in confusion. Why would a warrior need to calculate numbers during battle? Distances, angles, timing, resources, casualties, ammunition supplies, Rodriguez listed. Every second of combat involves dozens of calculations. The difference between victory and defeat often comes down to who can think more clearly under pressure. As if summoned by their conversation, Chung called for a tactical exercise. The humans quickly formed into small teams and began a complex simulation. They moved through imaginary scenarios while instructors shouted complications at them. Your primary weapon is damaged. 2 team members are wounded. Enemy reinforcements approaching from the east. You are running low on ammunition. Each new problem was solved instantly by the human teams. They adapted their formations, redistributed equipment, changed tactics, and continued their mission without hesitation. The alien observers realized they were watching military decision-making at a level they had never imagined possible. These are not just individual warriors, Zethara said in amazement. They function as a collective intelligence. Each one enhances the capabilities of the others. Human military doctrine emphasizes teamwork above everything else, Chun explained. An individual human warrior is impressive. A team of human warriors is nearly unstoppable. We train together, fight together, and protect each other. To demonstrate this principle, the humans began a drill called buddy carries. Each warrior took turns carrying a partner through the obstacle course. The person being carried was not passive cargo, but continued to watch for threats and provide tactical support. We never leave anyone behind, Rodriguez said as he watched 2 humans work together to overcome a challenge that neither could have handled alone. This is not just about loyalty. It is practical. Every human represents years of training and experience that cannot be replaced quickly. The alien warriors began to understand another crucial difference. Most species trained individual champions who fought for personal glory or tribal honor. Humans trained entire populations to function as coordinated military forces. How many of your people received this training? Krithik asked. All of them, Chun replied. Every human child learns basic military skills in school. Physical fitness, weapons handling, first aid, tactical thinking, leadership principles. We call it citizenship training. The alien stared at her in shock. An entire species trained for warfare. The implications were staggering. Not everyone becomes a professional soldier, Chun continued, but everyone is prepared to fight if necessary. Our civilians can become effective warriors in a matter of weeks because they already have the foundation. Gorthik was watching a human instructor teaching alien observers how to perform basic exercises. The instructor was patient and encouraging, helping each alien find modified techniques that worked with their different body types. They are teaching us, Gorthik realized. Even now, they share their knowledge freely. Knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied, Chun said. Strong allies make us stronger. If you learn our techniques and adapt them to your own abilities, both our species benefit. One by one, alien warriors began joining the human exercises. They struggled with techniques designed for different biology, but the humans helped them modify each drill. Soon, the arena was filled with interspecies training groups. K. Rithik attempted a push-up with his crystal body and found it nearly impossible. A human instructor showed him how to use his unique physiology to perform a similar exercise that provided the same benefits. Zethara tried the meditation drill and discovered that her psychic abilities actually improved when combined with human mental training techniques. Even the proud Thoraxians found ways to adapt human flexibility exercises to their insect-like bodies. This is unprecedented, Kruthik announced to the gathering. We came here to rank combat abilities. Instead, we have discovered something far more valuable. He stood in the center of the arena, his crystal form reflecting the lights as he addressed both humans and aliens. The Combat Federation has operated for centuries on a simple principle: the strong dominate the weak. We believe that natural advantages determine fighting ability. We were wrong. The arena fell silent as the implications of his words sank in. These humans have shown us that true strength comes not from what you are born with, but from what you choose to become. They have turned weakness into adaptation, failure into learning, and suffering into strength. Chun stepped forward. We do not seek to dominate the Federation. We offer to share what we have learned. Every species can benefit from human training principles adapted to their unique capabilities. And what do you ask in return? Kruthik asked. Learn with us, Chun replied. Share your own knowledge and techniques. Help us become stronger, and we will help you do the same. The galaxy is a dangerous place. Together, we can be ready for whatever comes. The formal announcement came 3 days later. The Combat Federation would be restructured around new principles. Rather than ranking species by natural fighting ability, they would focus on developing training methods that could help any species reach their maximum potential. Human instructors would be stationed throughout Federation space, teaching adapted versions of their techniques to anyone willing to learn. In return, humans would study alien methods and incorporate the best ideas into their own training. The galaxy's strongest fighters had gone silent watching humans train. Now they were ready to break that silence with a new understanding of what it meant to be a warrior.